This is Emperor Qin. He is the deadliest and most complex commander in this game. He came out last week, and we've been running this guy like crazy. I was running him all during Kingsland, and I wasn't even running him right. You had theories going out there about how this guy works with his rage. He's very, very unique. He's something different than we've ever seen. Well, we figured it out. We got with our boy Daver and Sack. Daver really went through the testing. I had the stream on it earlier today, and we've got all the things flushed out for you. We're going to simplify it and tell you exactly what to do with this guy to make it very, very easy. Hey everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chatsky, and this is Emperor Qin. Okay, we have discussed this guy at length. He is the deadliest commander in the game. He does such crazy damage, and he has such good pairings. Okay, I'm a Cav main, and when I got this guy for past 7 last week and into Kingsland, he was my best March, which is crazy because I've got crazy stuff for Cavs. All right, and so with this guy, he's completely different and he's so complex. We're going to simplify everything for you because it's really hard to understand a lot of this stuff. Basically, his active skill works off of rage consumption. That's different than any other commander. Every commander works off a rage requirement. Every single one of them. This is the first commander we have that works off of rage consumption. And so when you look at that, it's very, very important to understand you have a situation to where whenever the troop deals direct damage with a basic attack via, that's basically from the iron pierces bronze, okay, it also deals 60% of the damage to up to 5 nearby enemy troops. That's crazy. He's a 6 troop AoE damage dealer every second. It's wild. I'm not going to go into too much of this, okay? He's got a crazy stat stick here. He spins rage, which is rage consumed. What we talked about, rage consumed. He spins rage on a second skill every turn, and he deals direct damage, and he translates the basic damage into direct damage, and you also gain 20% march speed, 30% defense, 20% health, okay? That's going to come into play because we're going to tell you the values of this guy's situation when it comes to his how we calculate his defense and health and attack compared to all damage. We'll go into that because it changes for each pairing, okay? His expertise enhances his 3rd skill, okay? And basically what this does is that you gain the Eternal Emperor effect for 10 seconds whenever you enter combat. You can trigger this once every 60 seconds. Whenever that basically fires up his rage engine. It fires up his AoE instant damage every second. All right. And what you do with this is that you deal direct damage to targets and you drain 15 rage. The drain effect we've seen before in Ragnar, but now we got it on this guy. He drains 15 rage from each target. And then you're also consuming 25 rage for each target. And that's how you gain rage so fast. And that's how you consume it so fast so you can run your active skill. 4th skill, when you're the primary commander, you gain 500 rage upon entering combat. So now you start with 500 rage and you can start consuming it every second, which is very, very important. And your troops take 10% less normal damage, which is great. And then if you get hit with any kind of skill damage, smite damage, or combo attack damage of a factor of 300 or more, you're going to spend 40 rage to reduce the damage by 40%. He's tanky as hell, y'all. And while he's mitigating that damage from smite, combo, or skill damage, you're also consuming 40 rage. You want to consume rage. And you can take this and trigger it up to 6 times a second. So six different enemies can be hitting you in a murder ball, and you can trigger so much rage. That's 240 rage that he consumes in this 1 second. And there's no cooldown. That's what's crazy about this guy. All right. His expertise is an enhancement of his 3rd skill. That's all I'm going to say about skills. Basically, what this guy does, he does AoE instant red numbers every second, and he consumes rage. Okay. The more targets you hit, the more rage he consumes. The more targets that hit you, with skill damage and direct damage and smite damage and combo damage, you consume even more rage. Okay, so he is the craziest rage engine commander you've ever seen when it comes to consuming rage. And that's what it takes to fire off his active skill. Okay, well, there's two good pairings for this. And this is what we all said. Because he transitions all of his basic attack into direct damage, because he does that, he only does skill damage. Okay, so skill damage is like all damage. We said immediately with Zhuge's got a skill damage bonus of 20%. Okay, it's really, really good. With YSG, his perpetual skill damage bonus of 50% is busted for this guy. It's crazy. I ran both commanders, and it is true. They both do a ton of damage, and they amplify the damage that Qin does every second. The other thing you need a rage generator, but you really don't need it. But if you have it, you can do some other things with your equipment and your talents. Well, Zhuge's got one of the best rage generations in the game. He generates a ton of rage. Okay, YSG generates a lot of rage. Not as much as Zhuge, but a lot. Okay, and you guys are gonna have to follow me here as I go through this. When you look at this overall, you want to generate rage for this guy and give him skill damage bonus. That's what you want to do for this guy. And so when you look at that, I ran him with Zhuge and pass 7 last week, and in Kingsland I ran him with YSG, and YSG did even better. And part of that was because I didn't have my talents and equipment the way it needs to be. Okay, the way that this guy works, and this is what everybody has to understand. First of all, let's talk about his gear. I run the 6-piece Dragon's Breath set, okay? That's what I run. I'm not an archer rally, so I don't have the KVK helmet and weapon. I run the 6-piece Dragon's Breath set. Well, let's look at this for a second, because this is very interesting and how we kind of lay this thing out. Let me come back on this setup for you in this table that Daver put together. Daver is the one that does all this stuff. You can check him out in King's Codex. He's our resident brainiac in 606. He's great. And this is how he sets up his marches with the skills that the commanders give you. With Qin and Zhuge, on the old tech, you can see 1% of damage equals 1.85% health and 1.85% defense, 2.17% attack. That's what all damage translates into. With the new tech, all damage is even more important for him when he's running with Zhuge. Okay, at the bottom, you can see where Qin is running with YSG. Okay, because YSG doesn't provide a bunch of health. He does provide some defense, but not a lot of health. You can see that on the old tech, all damage is worth not near as much as it pertains to health. Okay, health is really, really important. Defense is very important. Okay, and attack is even more important. Now you come down to the new tech, health, 1.5% health equals 1% on all damage. That's the translation. So that's what we wanted to show everybody, okay? And so with that, let's go to the equipment. This is very, very important for people to understand when it comes to the equipment. So we'll come over here and we'll look at this. The Dragon's Breath set, okay? This is what people have to understand. The Dragon's Breath set is the reference. All right, and so when we look at this overall, we're going to say that the Dragon's Breath set is the reference. That's a 6-piece set. Well, here's what's crazy, and this is not the case with rally commanders for archers. That's why rally and garrison players prefer to have at least the 2-piece KVK set with 4 pieces of Dragon Breath, or a 2-2-2 setup with the 2-piece KVK set, a 2-piece Dragon's Breath set, and a 2-piece leadership set. But if you look at the way these commanders and Qin works, the best thing you can do is the 2 KVK set with 4 pieces of Dragon's Breath. That actually is better and the best thing you can do with Qin and Zhuge at the top. You can see right there. It increases with new tech by 2.74% and with old tech by 2.47%. All right. You can see the next line down, the 2 by 2 by 2, basically 2 KVK pieces, 2 Dragon's Breath pieces, and 2 leadership pieces with the pants and boots. It does worse than the 6-piece Dragon's Breath set. That's how the stats line up. That's how the health, defense, and the attack work out when it comes to these commanders. There's a lot of stat stick on these guys, okay? And so with that being said, that's how this thing plays into it. So if you're a player that has a 6-piece Dragon's Breath set, you're fine, all right? If you're running 2 KVK pieces and 4 Dragon's Breath pieces, you're even better. And if you're a rally commander and you got a 2x2x2 setup, go put that on somebody else and run the Dragon's Breath on this guy. That's how this thing sets up. With YSG, you can see the same thing. Now, the variation is nowhere near what it is with Zhuge, but it's definitely different. And so that's what everybody has to understand when it comes to the gear of this guy. All right, so let's now talk about the accessories, okay? Because the accessories are very, very important. I ran Horn in Zone 7, and I ran Horn in Zone 7, and I ran Horn in Kingsland. And I didn't know, I didn't need to. Because this guy fires off so fast and consumes raids so fast, the Horn is wasted. You don't even want to use it. And you had other people out there putting out guys just saying, oh, well, you want the Horn so you fire off faster. And what we found, and I'll have a card at the end screen to where you can go back and watch that testing today that we did live on stream. What we found is that a Horn doesn't make you fire off any faster when you first enter combat. It just does not. You fire off at 6 seconds. That's the way it works. The only way the Horn is beneficial is if you run them with YSG and you go very, very deep in the turns. You go past turn 27. Then the Horn really starts to kind of amplify and help out the quick rage cycles that this guy does with YSG. But you just don't need the Horn. I'm simplifying it for you. It doesn't do anything for you. You much rather put on a dagger or a pendant. Okay, the pendant does 5% skill damage. Well, this guy is exclusively skill damage. All right, so everybody understands that when it comes to him. A pendant, if you have one, now you have somebody to run it with. Because this piece of equipment has been awful for a long time. Okay, this came out 5 years ago. And 5% skill damage doesn't do much. But when it comes to Qin, that's like all damage. That's like the greatest glory with the smite and combo commanders. Okay, because normal damage enhances your combo and smite damage. So that got a rebirth. Now the pendant's getting a rebirth. I'm not saying you need to go forge this. If you have the luxury of having the mats and prints, you can do it and your Qin will perform better. And if you have one of these already, now you have something to put it on. That will do better than Horn. Okay, if you got a dagger, you can put that on there. So you basically got a free slot outside of the ring for this guy to do something different with his accessory. Okay, I had Horn and I've just got it on the set here now, but this didn't do anything for me. It literally doesn't do anything for me. Also on his talent tree, this is what everybody has to understand. I thought we should run this, generate as much rage as possible in the skill tree with Feral Nature. It didn't matter. I was wasting rage. None of that mattered. And instead, this is the talent tree we recommend when you're running him with Zhuge or YSG. You go 3 points all the way up here into Whistling Arrows. You do get a little bit of rage with Razor Sharp over here, and you do get a little bit of rage with Rejuvenate. You do not do Feral Nature, which is really good because now you can do all this stuff with Whistling Arrows and everything else. So that is very, very important to see when it comes to how you build your talent tree, okay? Because you're going to fire off as fast as possible, even if you don't have Horn and even if you don't have Feral Nature. You'll fire off as fast as possible, so you're not losing anything if you don't have those particular attributes, okay? And so that's how the talents work out. And we ran this thing, and we ran the hell out of it to figure out how it worked. And so with Zhuge and with YSG, you don't need the Horn, and you don't need Feral Nature. That's the simplified answer I'm gonna give you guys. Really simple, okay? So from there, we wanna figure out exactly how that rage works, and this is kind of the evidence that comes with it. Let me pull this up here. If you see here at the top, okay, each one of these highlights the turn in which the active skill fires. At the very top, you have no Horn, YSG. You fire your first active skill at 6 seconds, okay? That's without a Horn and without Feral Nature, 6 seconds. And then look, you fire your active skill every 4 seconds for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 active skills, okay? And so on turn 35, that is when you don't have enough rage. And that's actually a 5-second active skill cycle. Okay, so that's when you really need the horn. But you're never going to get to that point. It's just wasted. If you go for extremely long, then that works out, okay? If you do have the horn, you can see you don't have that problem where the pink 35 is. If you go to the one down with, if you have a horn with YSG, it's 6, 10, 14, 18, 22, 26. You fire off every 4 seconds no matter what if you do have the horn, okay? So that's what we saw, that your first 30 seconds of battle, you don't even need the horn. And rarely do you go past 30 seconds. You might go past 30 seconds, hit and miss, back and forth and all that stuff, but you got drums and you got all the other stuff to help you generate rage. That's what's crazy, okay? Now, on the next line down in the purple here, we did no horn with Ash, okay? Ash is a little bit different, all right? You saw a 4-second active skill cycle, starts on the 6th turn, and then you had the 10th turn, the 14th turn, the 18th turn, the 22nd turn, then the 27th turn. So that rage issue that you had without the horn is not 35 with YSG, it's actually 27 with Ash. So there is a point with Ash to where you fire off 1 second later. But is that really worth it? I mean, who gives a rip? I'd much rather put something else as an accessory on there. And then with the horn, of course, you see horn, Ash, standby test. You get it every 4 seconds, okay? Now we did it with YSG and the damage mitigation, okay? This is something that you got to understand. There's a damage mitigation that we did in the testing. And if you have no horn with YSG and you get hit by three times damage mitigation, then it's the 23rd second that you'll go a 5-second skill cycle, which is not ideal, okay? And then when you have no horn and you get hit by 5, it's the 19th second, okay? And so from there, you're basically saying, okay, I have my first 3 active skill cycles, I'm gonna be able to do it in 4 seconds. My first skill fires off, then 4 seconds later, I get a second skill, 4 seconds later, I get a third skill, 4 seconds later, with no horn and 3 people hitting you, I get another skill. If I got 5 people hitting me, it takes 5 seconds. Okay, well, what's that really worth? That's what people have to understand. And then at the bottom, you see no horn with Ash and the mitigation, and you see Ash with the horn. And so that just kind of, let me simplify this for you. You just don't need the horn, period. I don't even care if you run them with Ash. Even though Ash really doesn't have rage generation, you don't even need to run it with him. Okay, and that's what people have to understand. The other thing that we found out, and this is what everybody needs to understand as well, okay? Balanced comes into play because balanced is based off of rage. Now, the first part of balance is great. It's a 3.5% damage mitigation. Okay, this is damage resistance. It's like a damage resistance is like a boost, right? It takes all your damage mitigations and then it boosts it 3.5%. It's really, really strong. However, the second part of this is upon entering 80% rage, their troop deals 8% more skill damage for the next 3 seconds. This never happens with Qin. Like, it never happens. You never get your rage over 80%. I have a video from yesterday that showed when you put Qin secondary, it actually shows that you can't gain enough rage. It's like almost impossible. He consumes so much that you're hardly ever going to get over 80% rage. So it completely negates one of the biggest attributes of balance. If you have one balance and you run 2 archers, put it on your other archer march. Don't put it on the Qin march. You're not getting the value out of that. Okay? A lot of people asked about crazed. This does rage, all right? Anytime you deal direct damage, well, he does direct damage every second, and you gain 35 rage, and you get that basically every 3 seconds. But you don't need it. You don't need it at all. You would much, much rather run Hunter when it comes to your wedge set for your scroll slot. You'd much rather run Hunter. This is busted good with Qin. You would honestly much rather run some of these other common inscriptions than you would Craze. Craze just isn't doing anything for you. Run Robust, run Breaker, run Furious. Holy cow, that is so much better. So don't fall into that Craze trap because you don't have to worry about rage. Quit worrying about rage. Don't worry about it on your horn. You don't need it. Don't worry about it on Feral Nature on the talent tree, and don't worry about it with your inscriptions like Crazed. Don't worry about it. You're going to be more effective by doing other things when it comes to this commander. So that's how this thing lays out. That's what everybody has to understand. His pairings are really, really easy. It's Zhuge and it's YSG. Those are his pairings, and they do exceptionally well. We're talking busted good. You can ask anybody who runs those, it's their best march, hands down. I don't care how strong their infantry marches are. I don't care how strong their cavalry marches are. If they run Qin with YSG, it's their best march, hands down. It's crazy, okay? And what this guy is able to do is wild, and what archers needed, they didn't just need one good commander, they really needed two. Well, in a weird way, they released this guy that's broken. Like, he's so busted good, he's broken. In addition to that, much like Alex with Luce and William the Conqueror with Arthur, you're bringing YSG back from the dead. He was on his way out of anybody ever using him. He's an old commander. He doesn't do near as much damage, but all of a sudden, his rage generation here and his 100% bonus to attack is really important. And this is what makes him go and what makes him perfect for Qin. So the game developers didn't just give us one commander, they gave us like two. Because they basically said Qin with YSG is like arguably the best march in the game. And so now players are running two archer marches with Qin and YSG, and then Zhuge with Herman. That's an easy way to do it. If you don't have YSG, if you swapped him, you can run Zhuge with Qin, or you can run Herman with Qin and then put Zhuge with Philip. You can do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter. You're not going to need the rage for Ash. You're not going to need it for Herman. We're splitting hairs at that point. The rage generation for Zhuge and YSG show that you really don't need it. And so that's what makes this guy so good. You can put him with any archer commander. Any one of you right now can put him with Zhuge, Ash, Cyrus. Put him with Cyrus, put him with Shajar, put him with Nebu, put him with Boudica, put him with Herman, even put him with Artie. It'll be the best march in your murder ball, period. That's how crazy this is. It is wild what he does. And so from that, okay, people have to understand that it really does not matter. That's what people have to kind of figure out and really understand, that when it comes to this guy, you don't need the horn, you don't need feral nature in the talent tree, and you don't need the special inscriptions of crazed or balanced special inscription. You don't need those. And he's going to do amazingly well. Now, the other thing to think about when it comes to this guy, because people ask, hey, can you run him 5-5-1-1? Can you run him 5-1-1-1? How powerful is he? And this is the recommendation that we have, okay? If you can't get him expertise, you try to get him 5-5-5-1, and he's going to be awesome. You run him 5-5-5-1, and he's going to be awesome. If you can't get that, you run him 1-5-5-1. It's really weird how that works, but that's the second recommendation we would make. You run him 1-5-5-1. And then the third recommendation is you try to get him 5-1-5-1. Basically, you want this first and foremost, okay? And if you can get that, then from there, you want this. But if you can't get that, you'll take this. So either 5-5-5-1, or if you only have two skills that are maxed to level 5, you go 1-5-5-1, or you go 5-1-5-1. That's the best way to do it. And you can run this guy. He's better than Herman when he gets to that. If you got this and this maxed out, or this and this maxed out, or all three of them maxed out, he's literally going to be your best commander for archers. That's how good he is. And so hope everybody understands how this guy works out. Key points to take away from this: don't worry about running horn. Don't worry about running feral nature. Don't worry about the crazed rare inscription on the scroll slot. That's right here. Don't worry about the balance form special inscription on the flag slot. You can do better. You can do better things. You can do other things besides a horn. You can do other things in the talent tree. You can come up to whistling arrows now and get points because you don't have to do feral nature. That's what everybody has to understand. We showed you the math. We proved the theories. We proved some theories were kind of right, but not really. And then we proved that the other theories were actually pretty accurate. So hats off to everybody that went out and kind of theorized about this. And we really wanted to test it and run it. And that's what we did. We ran it in the field. We understood that regardless of how efficient you make it, it's going to be super powerful. But now we get really, really efficient with it, and we really, really get it detailed for you. So if you enjoyed the video, throw a like on here. Give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. We punched through 40,000 subscribers, and we are going, baby. And so jump in the community. My Discord link is in the description. Okay, you'll see Daver in my Discord sometimes. All his stuff is in the King's Codex. You got to think about going there. Make sure you're in that server so you can see some of the stuff that he puts out. It's amazing. Got to give him a lot of credit. And so with all that, hope everybody can take all this information. Give me some comments down in the comment section. I'd like to engage and reply to those. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.